It is definitely the leading enterprise in Pakistan. They can actually produce 3-cylinder diesel engines independently. The production line with advanced production technology is equipped. How did they do it? This kind of professional CNC will process the mold for making the engine's steel body. After processing, in order to facilitate subsequent demolding, people will first spray the demolding agent. Although the equipment of this factory is all high-end, the production of the steel body still requires sand casting. The production line with the equipment will mix the sand evenly, and then the mold can be used to shape the sand into a neat shape. The interior of the steel body is relatively complex. This production efficiency is still relatively high. 2 steel bodies can be produced with 1 sandbox. The sandbox used to glue the steel body has been completed very quickly. On the other side, these scrap irons piled up on the ground are the raw materials for gluing the steel body. At that time, they need to use a high-end medium-frequency electric furnace to melt it into molten iron. In order to ensure that there is no problem with the composition of the molten iron, they will first take the pressure and then test the composition of the molten iron. After ensuring that there is no problem, they can glue it. At this time, the masters need to pour the molten iron into the slurry basin. Then the workers only need to slowly pour the molten iron into the sandbox. After the casting is completely cooled, the equipment will remove the surface of the casting and then use the polishing machine for detailed cleaning. After more than 10 minutes of processing, the steel body has been completed and can be processed more carefully. First, experienced workers will use the grinder to grind the uneven positions around the steel body. After grinding, a layer of primer needs to be sprayed on the surface. Then the blank cast iron steel body can be processed to ensure that there is no deviation in the processing position and accuracy. There will be a professional mold to position and detect the steel body. After ensuring that there is no problem with the overall contour, it can enter the processing stage. The first thing to be processed is the standard installation hole position of the water plug. After the processing is completed, the steel body plane can be processed to be flat, so both sides are cut at the same time, so the processing progress is very fast. Processing the screw holes at the bottom of the steel body for fixing the steel cover. This processing process is relatively simple, with high-end tools for operation. The shaft processing equipment can not only improve the processing efficiency, but also ensure that there is no deviation in the hole position. The whole process progresses very quickly. The main position of the body also has exclusive fixed holes. The swimming hole inside the steel body is limited by a special mold. The lubrication hole of the bearing shell is processed very quickly. In order to make more detailed cutting on the surface of the steel body, the matching bullet hole machine will process the inner diameter of the steel body to the appropriate size to ensure that there is no problem with the size. At that time, the worker will use the micrometer to make detailed measurements. After the size is correct, a new steel sleeve can be installed inside. The excess part of the steel sleeve can be cut and written down. After the micrometer is used to test it, the inside of the sleeve needs to be molded out of the mesh pattern to increase the service life of the subsequent steel sleeve. With the exquisite processing of the high-end production line, the steel body has been processed very quickly. After the steel body is processed, there will be a lot of impurities left inside. The matching equipment will be carefully cleaned to ensure that it is clean enough. After the steel body of the 3-steel diesel engine is processed, it can be packaged and sent to a professional assembly workshop. In this high-end assembly workshop, the masters can quickly assemble it into a whole. At this time, everyone feels that the production process of this professional factory. If there are 10 points, how many points would you be willing to give?